The pen is mightier than policy. Most people lose because they don't write, they react. They argue on the phone. They plead through emotion. They forget the one rule of commerce, and is that if it isn't written, it doesn't exist. Now, every claim lives and dies on paper. I hope you understand that. And every remedy is proven by a record. The difference between a debtor and a creditor isn't money, it's the documentation. Because the documentation is gonna truly show the truth. Today I'm gonna show you how to use paper the way the system does, lawfully. Now, documentation is everything. So we're gonna be talking about how to create the letters, how to structure your letters for debt discharge, for debt validation, for communicating with anybody in commerce as it pertains to consumer credit transactions. So make sure you guys stick around all the way to the end, because this is going to be a super important video, one of those intricate details that people need. All right, so remember to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button if you're brand new, hit the like button if you watch my videos on a consistent basis and it helps. Number two, this is not legal advice. This is not financial advice. Remember to do your own research. You can go online and you can look this up yourself. Okay? If you are a resourceful person, you can find this information online. Okay? Now that we have that covered, thank y'all for watching once again. Let's dive into another one. So the first thing I want to talk about is how documentation is everything. Okay? Because in commerce, conversation means nothing, and contracts means everything. You can't say you're right. You have to prove it through written record. Okay? You cannot just say that what I have here is the truth. You have to be able to prove it. Innocent until proven guilty. Guilty until proven innocent in some cases. But it's the same exact vibe for the debt collectors. It's the same exact vibe for you. Okay? So this is why I'm very keen on, before you start the debt discharge process, do you know and understand the value of documentation? So the value of documentation, just to put it plain and simple, is the only ammo that you have against them. Okay? And if you are not strong in the legal jargon or the legal information, then documentation is probably going to be one of the first things you want to learn. How to be able to send an affidavit and how to be able to document it. What affidavits are important. How to structure an affidavit. Because that is what's going to tell the story. When you end up in court, if you end up in court, this is the only thing that you're going to be able to use as evidence. All right? So every major entity, banks, courts, and government operates through documentation. I mean, if you think about it, a business can't really talk to you per se. They'll probably have a representative. But how business talks to you is through communication via paper. All right? Because that entity is also paper as well. I hope you guys gathered that. So if it's not in writing, notarized, time-stamped, or even mailed, it's considered hearsay. Okay? Here's the major principle. He who leaves a paper trail controls the narrative. A collector calls claiming you owe. You don't argue. You respond with a written validation letter requesting the original contract, accounting, and proof of claim that you owe the debt. If they fail to reply properly, the silence becomes your evidence in standing. So those messages of I've sent this and they did not respond, that is the point. If they don't respond, they are actually putting you in a position to win. That's exactly why I've emphasized send your validation letter first, because sometimes these in commerce, they disqualify themselves by not responding. All you would do is continue to follow up. Here's how the rules of evidence and the rules of civil procedures go in hand when it comes to why paper wins, okay? Because your documentation isn't about the paperwork. It isn't really just about it. It's more about your position in evidence. Every lawful system has rules that decides what counts as proof and whose story the court believes. Even if you never set foot in a courtroom, understanding these rules show how the system reads your paperwork. Evidence wins cases and documentation creates evidence. This is why the documentation aspect is so important when communicating with debt collectors about debt discharge. When it comes to private banking or any layer of communication, the rules of evidence says that this is what the courts are going to base your argument off of, the evidence. All right. So here's where the rules of evidence applies. Number one, relevance. Okay. As a matter of fact, let me pull this up real quick. So let's talk about how the rules of evidence applies. Evidence, first off, it has to be relevant. Okay. Not only does it have to be relevant, the evidence must relate to the actual dispute in the dispute. So this is why you want to keep your letters specific. This is why you want to reference account numbers, dates, subject lines clearly. Authentication. The court must know who created the document and when. So in the cases of challenging certain things, when you're asking for them to provide proofs and evidence, they must know who created the document and when. Okay? This is why you will use certified mail, signature, notary acknowledgments, or affidavit verifications. These are some of the procedures and rules that the other side has to follow as well. Okay? Hearsay. Verbal statements usually aren't admissible. This is why phone calls and communicating via emotion, because when you're communicating via emotion, most times you're probably going verbal. If you're not communicating emotionally, then you're just going to type it down. You're going to calm down. You're going to type it out. Okay? How you would do it is you would avoid phone calls. You would rely on written notices and essentially replies that can be proven. Okay? Business records exception. Regularly kept records are presumed accurate. Maintain a consistent filing system. Date, stamp, everything. And then the best evidence rule is the fact that the original document is preferred over copies. Keep originals of key correspondence and send certified copies when required. Okay? So this is how the rules of evidence applies. Okay? And this is super important to know and understand when it comes to the documentation aspect of things. All right? And then we dive into civil procedures. Okay? In the law, in the aspect of civil procedures that should be taken, especially in the case of communicating via letters and affidavits. Civil procedure is the rule book for how disputes move through the court and the administrative process. Even if you operate privately, these principles guide what happens when a matter escalates. So the core concepts to understand, okay? Pleadings. The opening papers that outline the claims and defenses. So when you hear the word pleadings, your notices and letters form the foundation of your potential defense narrative. This is why your letters are important. This is why I tell you to put everything in your letters. Anything that has happened, any statement, anything that has happened, you want to make sure to put it in there because that is the narrative that you're painting. Whether it's the criminal defenses, whether it's the Fair Debt Collection Practices Act, whether they violate the UCC, whether they violate the rules of evidence, whether they violate their proofs. You want to put everything in your notices and your letters and don't leave anything left out. How you feel, what is going on, timestamps and all of that, because this is what is going to tell the story. Number 2, service of processes. Every claim must be properly delivered. You mirror this with certified mail, proving your side also acts with proper service. So this is why you will send things minimum certified mail, because it lets the court know that you're moving civilly. Timeframes and defaults. Deadlines matter. Your 10 to 30-day deadlines mirror the procedural timeframes courts use for a default. So you can bring out the evidence that I reached out. 10 to 30 days, they didn't respond or they didn't send the proper evidence. And guess what? I had them default. The courts understand this. Number 4, civil procedure also breaks down what the burden of proof is. Whoever makes the claim must prove it. Your letters transfer that burden back to the claimant by demanding validation. This is why you want to make sure that what you ask for and what you communicate to them about It's something that you can prove. All right. This is why I tell people not to just send a debt validation letter or just send letters about debt discharge or private banking, coupon remittance, or whatever the case may be, if you don't inherently believe it. Because if you don't believe it, then you can't prove it. Okay. This is why all the research and all the understanding comes first before you even dive into it. Okay. Unless you're doing it to learn. And if you're doing it to learn, you're okay with some of the mistakes that you'll make. Mistakes are going to happen regardless if you learn it all, but try to know as much as possible so that you can be able to prove it to yourself. All right. If you still are in a place of non-belief and you watch my videos to find a way to believe it, then continue learning. Number 5, the rules of civil procedures also breaks down affidavits and evidence. Sworn statements stand as fact until rebutted in the rules of civil procedures. When you document silence or a lack of response, your affidavit becomes evidence of closure. Okay? Every lawful process, private or public, runs on procedure, and when you master the paperwork, you master the process. So proper paper always beats emotion. Why? Because under the rules of evidence, emotion is irrelevant. Okay? Only verifiable records matter. If you say they never responded, that is hearsay. If you show a certified receipt, timestamp, and a copy of your letter, that is admissible evidence that you sent them a letter at this time and this date, and this is what you asked for. If you call 10 times, that is invisible. If you mail once correctly, you are on record. So this is why I tell people, look, everything that you're going to say on the phone, just put it in letter form and send it to them. Whatever concern that you have, send it to them in letter form. Even if it has nothing to do with debt discharge, always send a letter to them if you have a particular concern, okay? Or else you can't really enforce it, okay? Another thing I want to talk about. In law, silence without paper is nothing. Silence with record is victory. So use dated documents. Send everything certified and registered mail. Keep originals and copies. Attach to a certificate of service. Convert completed paper trails into an affidavit of record summarizing events, and make sure you keep it organized. Okay. One last thing. Catch this. Rules of evidence tells you what counts as proof. Okay. Civil procedure tells you how proof moves through the system. Documentation translate the experience into admissible evidence. Proper mailing and timing mirror the official service process, and affidavits convert unrebutted fact into a lawful record. All right. Now, all of this, I'm going to put together a lesson plan and put it in the school community. Tap into the school community. The link is in the description. Okay. So now that you guys understand that, let's talk about what letters matter and how to put these letters together. Okay, now we're going to go through this relatively quickly. So here are 3 classes of letters that you should know. Number 1, your notice letter. Your notice letter is used to inform and establish record. These letters put the party on notice that you are aware of your rights and you expect lawful procedure. Some examples are notice of tender, notice of discharge, notice of default and dishonor, notice of default, notice of estoppel, okay? Notice of cancellation, notice of blank. You are establishing that communication has been sent lawfully and in good faith, okay? That's the first class of letter your notice is. Typically is going to come when you are first reaching out to the company, putting them on notice about something, okay? These also can be used in between your other letters so that you can be able to, again, tell the story and tell the narrative. Number 2, your demand letters. That's the second class of letters that you're going to send, which also falls under the category of, all these fall under the category of a presentment. And under UCC 3-501, it says that presentments are demands. So when you send a presentment, it is a requirement for them to respond back, okay? So when you send a demand letter, the purpose of a demand letter validation demand is to request a specific action or documentation. So when you send a demand letter and you get a response back that doesn't adhere to what you demanded, then that is dishonor. A demand letter forces clarity. It says either produce proof or stand down. So if a company says you owe 10 grand, I'm going to send them a demand letter, a debt demand letter, a debt validation letter, and demand that they validate the debt or stand down. And what that does is literally shifts the burden of proof onto them. So now they have to comply to my demand before I pay. Because if you say that I owe, then you have to be able to prove it according to the rules of procedures. It can't just be hearsay. Prove that you've actually, that you didn't sell my loan, and prove that you didn't make money on my loan, because I believe that you did, or I have evidence that you have. Okay? You may need to go watch my other video on did the bank pay the seller, so that you can see how you can check things like Fannie Mae lookup, the SEC, Edgar's database, to see if there are pooling and servicing agreements, see if there's a UCC1 or something like that out there. This also helps in your claim against them, because when you do this, you now have actual proof yourself, so you can prove to them that you have proof that they are not the legal holder in due course, and kind of back them into a corner and have them, tell you the truth. All right. So some examples of demand letters are debt validation letters, demand for contract or accounting, and request for verification of claim. Okay? Shift the burden of proof back to the party making the claim. So this is the whole point of demand letters. It's a demand. All right? A notice letter and a demand letter are two different completely things. Two different things. So now we just went over two types. The third type is the affidavit and declaration letters. A purpose and sworn testimonial in writing. Okay, so it's going to have truth. It's going to be something that you declare. Affidavit of truth, declaration of settlement. Put them on notice that, hey, I'm declaring a settlement. Notice of administrative judgment. When an issue escalates, your affidavit becomes the lawful evidence. If unrebutted, it stands in truth in commerce. So typically what will follow, let's just say they don't respond, boom, an affidavit of non-response, an affidavit of truth. Hey, I'm letting you know that this is my truth. Over the last 2 or 3 months, I reached out to you guys about this debt. I've received these responses and they haven't been sufficient enough. You didn't respond to this. You failed to improperly validate. And essentially, if you do not respond to this in 10 days, then everything that I just said stands in truth. I've also put out there that you didn't, you've already got paid through securitization. I put out there that you didn't provide the X, Y, and Z. You convert a correspondence into a lawful evidence, which is an unchallenged fact. So if you are able to take these letters and literally use them hand in hand, you are creating you a strong evidence and a strong documentation, a strong narrative, a strong argument against a debt collector. Now, you would use these to your advantage, and you would use these to your to the best of your ability, right? You would use these to the best of your ability, or you use these as it sees fit, depending on the situation that we're talking about. Okay, boom. So you got your notice letters, you got your demand letters, you got your affidavit. Okay, now obviously I'm gonna put this in the school community, so obviously if you don't get it now, if you're in the school community, you'll be able to get it. All right, so now let's just talk about how to structure a lawful letter. These are some key things that you must understand when it comes to structuring a lawful letter. All right. Now, you can look at a debt validation letter. You can look online for validation letters. You can use ChatGPT, right? If you understand the key structure of a letter, you can write letters all day, okay? You just have to reach these points, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be structured. It doesn't have to be on a specific bond paper or letter paper, depending on what it is. But if it's a simple notice, affidavit, demand letter, it just needs to be structured this way. It doesn't have to be in a special type of paper, okay? It doesn't need a special type of signature. I mean, you can put your signature on there, but it doesn't matter what you do. What I'm teaching you right now, it doesn't matter how you signed your letters. It doesn't matter how you deliver the letters, as long as it's certified. If you are sending the communication, you are sending a strong argument. The ways that you were taught in the past, or you do this a certain way, they're going to look at you differently and they're going to comply in a different way. But the reality is they're not. Okay? They're not going to comply in a different way. So if you just do the things that you're supposed to do procedurally, then you should be fine. So every commercial letter follows the same rhythm. The header, okay? Your name, address, and date of record. Okay, the reference line, identifying the account or claim number. This is self-explanatory. It's typically at the top of the letter. And essentially, it's your name, it's your address, date, is their information, and it is the account and claim number. That is self-explanatory. All right. Number 3, this is the other aspect that is super important before you dive into the body, the statement of intent. What is the point of, what is your intention behind this letter? Okay. This communication is made in good faith for lawful settlement and closure. This is important so that the accord and satisfaction rule can apply, because if you put this out there that you're putting this there for lawful settlement and closure, they have to honor that. Okay? And if they don't honor that, the only way they don't have to honor that is if they can prove that you didn't say that. So the statement of intent is super important. Okay? Number 3, the body, what you're addressing. Okay, whether it's the claim, the balance, the notices that you have received, what you require, whether it's validation, discharge, proof of standing, lawful deadline to reply, 10 to 30 days. I typically tell people to use the whole 30 days so that, especially for brand new, so that you could be able to have that time for yourself, because some people don't be ready for the next 10 days. All right, unless you're more advanced, then you can start to push them 10 days and you know you're going to be on top of it. Then do that. Don't push the 10 days because you're trying to rush and get a result. Because I promise you, rushing this process, given the fact of how important the rules of evidence are, given the fact of the civil procedures, you have to go through the procedures in order for you to truly have a strong fight. Because the court is going to reward you for following the procedures. And if you follow the procedures better than your opponent, then they honestly will take the opponent as disrespect, especially given the fact that they are the ones who literally are do this all the time. So why would you mess up the procedures? But then this guy comes in here. He has everything in order. Y'all don't have nothing in order. Y'all came unprepared. Y'all thought y'all were just going to walk in here and walk over this person. And yeah, I'll typically give y'all that. But man, I got to reward this person for literally doing everything that they needed to do. Now, that's only if you do everything that you need to do the right way, because some people may exhaust themselves and feel like they did everything that they needed to do, but you really didn't. Okay? Keep it a buck. Number 5, your reservation of rights, UCC 1-308, that you essentially can put that in your letter, your body. You know, you can make a separate paragraph for it, right? But you want to put them on notice and let them know that you are reserving your rights. You don't contract to anything that you don't have full capacity over. Okay, this can typically go with your signature too. Now you want to go ahead and sign it wet ink, blue pen if mailing the originals. Okay, people obsess about the signature, but to be honest, if you are signing with your hand with the wet ink, and the reason why black is typically why people say not to use black is because black is going to be, it looks just like copy, right? But if it's in blue ink or even in red ink, if that were to be copied over, it more likely would show up as red, okay? But despite that, if you use a wet ink, that is evidence enough that a real person did it. And that's the only reason why a person would change up their signature, to be able to prove that they are who they say they are. Okay? Certificate of service and mailing proof, attach receipts or notary if needed. Okay? This is how you structure a lawful letter. Okay? These are the 3 types of letters that you have to get comfortable with creating. Okay? This is something that, for my people that's a part of my school community, when we have our monthly calls and stuff, they understand that how to create letters, how to be able to find, how to be able to use AI to help them create letters. They are very resourceful, okay? And I know you are too, especially if you watch every single one of my videos. All right. Now, I still have a lot to go through, so we're going to go try to walk through this very quickly, okay? How the system is going to respond to proper paper, because when your letters are precise and timely, you trigger administrative protocols. The opposing party must either respond with full validation or go silent and risk administrative default. Silence in commerce has meaning. Under the UCC principles, unrebutted correspondence stands in truth. That's how large corporations protect themselves through record and not reaction. You send a demand for validation, 30 days pass, no proper reply. You document the silence, record it as a default, and close the matter. That's lawful closure through process. And obviously, this typically happens on a regular basis, privately. It's only when you take it to court where it becomes public and you can get true enforcement. If you try to do things privately and they do not handle it privately or private matters honorably, then you escalate it. Okay. Now here's 5 rules of lawful communication that you have to understand. Never argue. Only put them on notice. Never guess. Always document. Never call. Always mail. Never assume, always verify delivery. And never forget, the paper speaks louder than emotion. This is why you document everything. This is why you put things in letter. This is probably one of the most important videos that you will see, okay? Because this is the part that people gloss over. So if you're watching this, leave a like button. Leave a like button. Leave a like. Comment down below if this is helping you so far. Every letter that you send is a building block to your commercial fortress. When I'm working with my clients, they always send me a little text every now and again. They say, oh, they didn't reply. I'm like, okay, good. What do you want me to do with that information? We're going to continue the procedures and we're going to keep sending them letters. Okay. So here's a practical example and we're going to go ahead and wrap this up. Number 1. Here's the validation letter sequence. Number 1, day 1, you receive a collection notice. If you receive a collection notice, day 3, you send a debt validation letter requesting proof of contract and accounting. Day 20, they reply with partial data or silence. Day 30, you send a notice of default and dishonor, giving them a final opportunity to cure their fault, to provide proof of contract and accounting. Day 45, they are still silent. You create an affidavit of administrative closure, stating the claim is settled through unrebutted correspondence. That's not rebellion. That's lawful record keeping. So, in essence, I'm going to put it to you like this. Now, you could wrap it up in 45 days, but if you can milk it as much as you can, especially if you're learning, you can add different, build your case even more, then do it. Okay. If you're going to go all this route, you want to make sure to secure the win by not leaving any stone unturned. Okay. Here's the mindset that you have to get into. The creditor never begs. They just document. Okay. I don't beg for forgiveness. I'm just going to document what I know and where I know that you went wrong. The debtor defends and the creditor defines. When you write, you're not asking for permission. You're commanding proof. The ink on your page is the authority in commerce. So, freedom doesn't live in emotion, it lives in documentation. Your voice can argue, your paper can prove. That's the difference between hoping for remedy and holding it in. But then, if you've watched this video and it makes sense, it's starting to be clear to you, leave a like button, okay? Hit the subscribe button if you're brand new, all right? I hope y'all watched this all the way to the end. If you watched it all the way to the end, comment the word challenge in the comment section down below. Now, the Fund Yourself School is big on paperwork and communication with debt collectors, okay? We're big on truly teaching people this process and helping them understand how to do this. It's a growing community and we are literally doing the best to help as many people as we can, okay? So if you're ready to master the paperwork, tap into the Fund Yourself School down below. You can get it for free for 7 days, and then it's $27 a month. Okay? Number 2, if you want to work with me directly, you want to need help putting these letters together, tap into that mentorship application, shoot me a DM on Instagram. You have many ways to be able to reach out to me. Okay? But other than that, man, thank y'all for watching the video, man. Super blessed to have y'all here. Rock with me for the last 35 minutes. Let's get the work done. Let's take care of our part. Let's set the example. Those people out there that are getting results, those people out there that are actually doing it, set the example. So that the people out there that are afraid, you know, who do have some fear or don't understand, they can actually get, you know, build belief in it. But other than that, it's up to you to you have to be accountable. The person that is watching this video that doesn't understand, the person that's watching this video that truly wants this to work for them, remember, the art of becoming is the game. The process is the true win. Okay? I love y'all. Thank y'all once again, and I'll see y'all in the next one. This video is sponsored by the Fund Yourself Academy. My step-by-step system designed to help you fix your credit, get funding, and build real financial freedom from scratch. If you're tired of feeling stuck, overwhelmed, or just ready to stop living paycheck to paycheck, this is where it changes. Inside the Academy, I break down everything from consumer law secrets that they don't teach in school to how to remove negative items and boost your score, get access to business funding, and start building multiple income streams online. Whether you're just starting out or ready to level up your game and get the bag, this is your playbook. We've got tools, templates, dispute letters, mentorship calls, private community access, and an exact roadmap I use to leave my 9-to-5 and create time freedom. But only for a limited time, you can get access to the Fund Yourself Academy on a free trial basis for the next 7 days. And then after that, you pay less than $1 a day at $27 a month, if you like it. No fluff, just facts and just freedom. Go to the fundyourselfacademy.com or hit the link in the description to join now, because nobody's coming to save you, but you can fund yourself.